Hello, everyone. Very nice to have you. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to A Turn of Events, where we put a positive spin on the future of your business. I'm Annette Naif, the CEO and Creative Director of Naif Productions. We're a strategic event production company based in New York City, but we do events all over the world. We specialize in corporate, social, nonprofit, and weddings. I also have a Facebook group called Event Planner Society for wedding and event planners. If you are a driven, creative, and passionate wedding and event planner, please come over there and join us. It's a great group of people. We bring planners together from all around the world who want to network, gain referrals, improve their mindset, build their businesses. And I'm also in there giving some unbelievable free training for you. So please join us. Love to answer any of your questions. Again, it's Event Planner Society. So today, one of the biggest questions I always get is pricing. How do I price? And people who get nervous about telling how much their fees are and things like that. We're going to talk today to Linda Hunt. She is the author and money clarity catalyst of SUMSOLUTIONS LLC. She is an author also of The Money Conversation, which is releasing here in early 2026, which is really exciting. So you're going to have to check that out. She helps entrepreneurs anchor financial clarity, rebuild pricing power, and scale profitably without burnout or doubt. Doubt is a big thing. A former corporate leader and early pioneer in remote accounting services, Linda blends decades of financial and operational expertise with a deep understanding of how structure, clarity, and nervous system capacity shape sustainable success. So through her financial clarity framework and pricing power rebuild, she delivers the structure every business needs to stabilize, overflow, and multiple growth. Her work goes beyond spreadsheets. It's about financial clarity, energetic alignment, and building businesses that honor boundaries while amplifying leadership. So we're going to talk about the money conversation, how to talk about pricing without the wobble. And man, oh man, do we need that, right? So welcome, Linda. So nice to have you.
Thank you, Annette. I'm thrilled to be here and talking about one of my favorite topics.
I know. I actually love this too, because I remember when I started my business, and we'll share that, it was really, it's hard. It's hard when you're pricing. How do you price? What do you price? And then how do you talk about your fee? You know, you get really, really nervous. So, why don't you, how did you tell us a little bit about like where you came from? I know I mentioned it, but just a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. So I am a corporate dropout. I was in the corporate world and I had been traveling like a lot for 5 years, and I was just burnt out from traveling. And I got to know my limo driver really well. It was a shared limo service. So back in the day, this was one of the pioneering services. Anyway, I got to know him pretty well. And I noticed I was consulting with him on his business, and I just got that entrepreneurial bug. So couple that with being burned out, left corporate, and started one of the first remote accounting firms in the late 90s, early 2000s. And how I got here, you know, yes, we still do accounting and we do all that fun stuff for businesses just to make sure that they know their numbers. But I started recognizing that I was struggling with talking about money, but so were my well-to-do businesses who were doing really well. And money's always intrigued me, money's energy, and it's such an emotionally charged subject that I had come to the conclusion pretty quickly within my first year of business, if I don't figure out how to talk about money without being nervous, because my voice would crack. That's why I always say the wobble, right? My voice would literally
I totally get that. I know.
And I noticed, and this is nothing against the men in the audience, because I love men just as much as I love women, but I noticed that men would actually jump on that. And then they use it as a point of negotiation. And some women did as well. But anyway, so that's kind of how I fast forwarded here. I loved, my business provides done for you services, but I also do a lot of coaching with people who are starting up their business, who have been in business for a while, and they've kind of plateaued, all around money. And I like to help people get alignment through structure and create their business and scale their business through intention. So
great. Yeah. I mean, you're just bringing up a memory of when I first started presenting my proposals. I would like get through all the services and, and then I would get to the payment, on the fee structures and all of that. And I go, okay. And then we have all these discounts and I would never say how much it was. I would just, they could see it because I have the screen when I present my proposals, I present them on, on Zoom, and they could see it. I would never say the amount. And later on, obviously confidence is everything. That's what I found. If I just say it and I'm confident, this is what it is. And, and then I usually just stop and check and say, okay, how does that feel to you? Is this in your budget? That sort of thing, just to get it, because now you can address their issue right away.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing I teach is instead of sending this proposal out and letting them just kind of like look at it and you can't address anything, that's a huge mistake. And that changed all of my percentages of my closing rate skyrocketed when I stopped doing that. When I just sent it out, all being nervous and hoping to God that it was right. It's generally, honestly, always less than it should be, right? I mean, most times we undercharge what we're supposed to. I remember when I first started, I figured out how much I was supposed to be paying. I was supposed to be paid. I ended up getting paid a negative $52 an hour. So that's how that all worked out. I learned later on. So that's a big thing I teach. And a lot of my, wedding and event planner students always ask about their pricing. And it honestly took me like 10 times to really hear it and learn it before I got, okay, there's so many ways especially with planning and things like that, you have to learn about how you can price and stuff like that.
Of course.
Yeah. So anyway, so I want to ask this question. So I have lots of questions for you, but let's just jump in. So why do so many business owners and service professionals feel uneasy or hesitant when it comes to talking about their pricing?
So for me, like what I found to be the most common thing, including myself, is there's this underlying thinking, feeling, belief. What will people think about me? What will that say about me? Right? So will people think I'm too greedy? How will I deliver? So that I want to delve into that a little bit because you touched on it, Annette, when you said, when you started sending your proposals and you started talking about them with and saying, hey, so like, how does that feel to you? What's going on? Right. You were able to get to the fact that they were living in their own money story. So that's something what we really have to understand. Like we all come to the table with our own money beliefs, how we've been raised, what we think about money, and believe it or not, most of us, even though we think we have an abundant mindset, there are limiting beliefs in all of our minds, right? Like, a common one is, well, there's not enough money to go around. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, there is enough money to go around. It's like, all you have to do is there's always money in circulation. So anyway, so it's about the mindset, but what we want to talk about here is oh my God, I'm sorry. I lost myself. I did lose myself. Yeah.
So you were talking about just like your mindset, your money talk, your own, it's really about your own obviously the way you're raised, right? So if you're raised a certain way, I had parents who they've never had enough money. We're always struggling. That's just how I grew up. So, and also I think it's your own, how you value what you're worth, right?
Well, yeah, so there's so many layers, right? There's so many layers to pricing so when we are service providers, right? Event planning is providing a service, it's providing experience, right? And yes, there's a concrete piece to event planning where you're paying for a venue and you're paying for I don't know, the little tchotchke things, excuse me, I'm not trying to diminish it, but the things that the gifts that you're giving out, right? The gift bags, right? That's all, part of it. But then the value is the experience, right? So that's what I call the X factor, right? It's the unknown. And when we start to delve in that side of it, that's where we question our self-worth, and our self-worth gets entangled with that. And I believe that this comes from the fact that we're raised, like as a society, we go get a job and we get paid when we first started getting a job. You get paid by the hour, right? So whether you're starting a business and you're an entrepreneur, and you've never gone to work for somebody else, or you've come from a job, you're sitting here going, okay, well, I'm going to charge this hourly rate. Well, that hourly rate is trading dollars for hours, right?
Yeah.
And yes, there's totally a time component here, but what that hourly rate needs to also include is the expertise, is the experience that you're bringing, it's the value. So as an event, one of the examples I give is like for coaching, and I'm sure this isn't a good example for event planners, because we don't want to collapse time. We want them to have a phenomenal experience. Like we want people to walk in to that venue and be wowed, right? Like that's the experience you're looking for. And you want them to walk away and go, oh my God, I wish that night never ended. Yeah, but with
hard work, and it's
lots of hard work, let me tell you. But like with coaches, one of the things I say is like when you first start out, you might be working with someone, right? And you might be getting amazing results in 4 sessions. But as you deepen your expertise and you work with people more, you're able to get those same results in 2. Well, that's value, right? And that is what I'm calling the X factor that we have to account for. Right. So there is a formula that you can, there is a mathematical formula. It's pretty easy, but I think a long-winded way of going back to your original question is why, it is tied to our self-worth, and it is tied to our money stories, and it's tied to our beliefs around money. And as women, I would assume that a lot of event planners are women. We want people to like us.
Yeah.
We want people to like us. And, you had said something that in your story that you would give them all these discounts. Yeah. And you would never say the rate. And that is so classic, right? Like we do that. We as women, when we start to talk about the investment, we try to fill the silence.
Yeah.
And we really just need to be quiet. And one of the things that I want to make a point of is when you're saying your rate, right? Talk about the process, right? Mm-hmm. It's really like, in events, it would be more about the experience. So this is the experience that we're looking for your guests to have. And they're going to come in and they're going to see the ocean. And then they're going to be handed a drink, whatever it is, right? And you're kind of painting the picture. And then you can say, and the investment for this is, right? Because if you go back to the process, it's not about you. It's not about them. It's about you're talking about something neutral. So if we can take the charge out of money, right, and make it neutral, it's a little easier to talk about.
Right. And just for those who are always asking me, how do I price my services? So when I present my proposal, it's outlining all the services first, right? So we go through all these services, we spend 15, 20 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, going through the services. And then we're like, so how does that, does that look like, is that what you're looking for? And they're absolutely, this is fantastic. And then the next page is investment. I always say an investment fee. I never say it's an investment, right? You always want to say the investment. And then I reiterate all of the, then I go back and talk about what's included in this. And there's a team involved. So it's not, I'm not doing it by myself. So that's another thing that you need to be sure to tell people is your clients, your potential clients, is that this includes 3 professional planners, from the pre-production, on-site, post-production, that sort of thing. So you're painting the picture. We're part of your team, right? We are an extension of your team. So you can focus on other things and we can manage all the logistics. You got to paint that picture. So when you're presenting that proposal, you are now kind of selling yourself again, right? You're going to be excited, show your excitement because that gets them excited. And also, you have to be confident. You have to, even if you're going to pee your pants, and you're so nervous, I don't care. You have to just say, and this will, and our fee is $35,000 or $50,000 or whatever it looks like for every event. You never want to give a fee before, you never want to tell your pricing before you've talked to them. There is no pricing before you find out what the event is.
Not at all.
No. is. You can't. It's every single event is different.
Every single event is different. I mean, there's probably some commonalities like in the framework on how you price, but yes, you are 100% correct. It is custom pricing. What I love about that is it is about laying the story. It's about showing. So what you're demonstrating is your expertise. It's like you're going to have three, professional planners planning your event. It is laying that groundwork. It is basically telling them your process in the form of a story. Mm-hmm. And what I want to recommend is if you're nervous to get rid of that wobble, you need to practice in front of the mirror. Yeah. You need to practice like you're giving a presentation at school, like you're going to be up in front of the classroom and you're going to be talking, because that once your mind hears your voice, it then sends a signal to your body that this is okay. You're safe. Because when, I know when I was first starting out and I would quote my hourly rate, right? I was trading dollars for hours. I would say my rate and my voice would crack. Yeah. And I honestly felt like I was going to throw up. And the more I practiced, the better I got at it, right? So I was still talking about hourly, but I was able to go, well, my rate is, it was probably something like $25 an hour or whatever. Oh, I know, right? Crazy. But the thing is, you do have to practice in front of the mirror, and it gives the signal to your body that you're safe. And if you get nervous, one of the things I tell my clients is I do this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. Like if you start to get nervous, or you you find 5 things in a room, right? You just identify them. You identify 4 things you hear, 3 things that you feel, like sensory, okay? 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you taste. And if you're in a meeting, and you just couldn't swallow, but that will put you back in your body, it clears your mind, mm-hmm. and then you can talk about the money.
Yeah. So, yeah. You're bringing up such a funny point that's making me think about that is we are trained, most people are in corporate America for a while before they start their own business. I did not start my business until I was 46 years old. Okay. So that is and I've had my business for 15 years. So do the numbers. So,
I love it. I know, fabulous, Annette. I would never guess.
But so for those many years, I was trained to make $35 an hour, or $40 an hour, $50 an hour, whatever I built up to. Now I can't even remember because it's been so long. So you're told you're only worth this much.
Yes.
And you're also one person. You're not the whole business. There's not all the different things that go into your travel and your expenses and your overhead and running the business and your team. And there's so many things that go into running your own business, and you have to make a profit. You have to make a profit. So I remember, and I still have that after all these years. I've been doing events for over 30 years. I've had my business for 15 years. And if you're having me remember, just recently, someone's like, okay, so I'm going to take this looks great. I'm taking it back to the board, because we do a lot of nonprofits and they have to take it to the board and get it approved. But if there's any extras that we need to do, what is that hourly rate going to be? And I got nervous for a second.
Right?
What the hell? This is my hourly rate.
That was your trigger.
And she's like, hey, thanks. And I was just like, it will, I think it's always there. It's just learning. It's just learning how to manage it and get past it. And I mean, the numbers that I used to throw out when I first started my business compared to what I tell now, it's just like, this is what it is. And if it's not working out, I'm confident to know that I'm going to get something else. And now we always listen, when you're first starting your business, you're going to take anything. Right? You're just going to take them because you want to make money, and it's great experience, and you're learning. There's nothing wrong with it. You're going to learn what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and that sort of thing. So it's okay with that. But it's so funny. You're bringing up all this.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. A couple of months ago, I had gotten an email. A financial planner was vetting accounting services for their client. And, in the email, I got triggered. I'm going to tell you, it said, oh, the wife's been doing the books because they wanted to keep it in-house. And my first reaction was, oh my God, they want cheap.
Yeah.
And I had to actually stop myself. I had to ground and and not respond right away. But so I want to talk about.
That's the key, not to respond right
Not
away.
to respond. Yes, it is not to respond.
That's an emotional response, and you don't want.
And the thing is, our triggers are there. They're there. You're strengthening the muscle to not react the way we used to. Right. That's really the key. But one of the things I want to talk about is, and this is a free training on my website. So if anybody wants this, it's called the Perfect Pricing Formula. But what it is calculating your minimum aligned price. So you were talking about all those things, right? When you're running a business, like you have to have insurance, and you have to have to pay yourself, and you have to have all these costs to run your business.
Right.
The minimum aligned price and it's very easy to calculate. It is not hard, but it will tell you the price that this is your floor. This is what you need to be making in order to sustain your life and your business, right? If you're charging below that, right? I think you said negative $52.
57, right? Yeah, $57 an hour. I figured I made on my first event.
Yeah, but this is maybe a 15-minute video, and in 15 minutes you can figure out what your minimum aligned price is. And then from there, once you know that you're billing, you charge that, then you can leverage things. But money, society, I think about this, and almost my friends sometimes are like, oh gosh, she's gonna talk about money again. but it's true. It's like society has trained us. It's like, oh, here's your hourly rate and this is what you're worth.
Yeah. I know. It's exciting too when you finally get past that. I have to say, it is really fun. I used to dread giving proposals. I'd be so nervous. I'd be so nervous. But the minute I got on and I started talking to somebody and I started talking about what I do, I was excited. And that's just, I get excited when I talk about it because I know what I'm doing and I
know what you're doing. And that's the key.
That's being excited. If you are excited, they are excited. Exactly. Yeah. It's really, even if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous that I can't do it. But once you start going, and then, it really is a fun thing to do. And I love doing them now. Like I love proposals.
Sure.
I don't know. It's kind of a funny thing but that's what happens. And it's really all about practicing it. It is about practicing it. You will definitely, I promise, it gets easier the more you do. And we've done thousands and thousands of them. So, and we don't always get them all, but now, because I think I've broken that fear and really been more confident about what we do, and also screening ahead of time to make sure that the right kind of client, that's a big thing too. Yes. But once I've gotten past that, you start closing them so much faster. So it's really, really fun. So I just, I was gonna say, you brought up something I want to highlight. So if a client says no, right? So say you give your price, right? And then they go, oh, that's outside of my budget, or they say no, that's data, right? That means that maybe your screening process needs to be a little bit more stringent so that you're aligned, right? Because we are not, as service providers, we are not meant to work with every single person. There is an aligned client out there for all of us. Yeah. Correct. So what's a healthy way to respond so you don't wreck the relationship? Right. So if someone says, okay, well, that's outside, that's more than I expected. Okay, let's talk about that. So is this a budget constraint? So you want to start asking open-ended questions. You want to get them in dialogue, and you want to come from a point of view where you are talking about solutions, right? And you may, so saying, okay, so is this a budget constraint? Okay, if it's a budget constraint, then what if we eliminate this? Whatever it is, it's like you're looking like you're working with them. Right. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get shut down completely, like, nope, not doing it, because you're there, you're in the room, and you're talking to them. And that is key, right? So you've got to be willing to have the conversation. If you sent that proposal and you didn't talk to them about it, you're more likely to get a no. Yes. Right. They're going to be like, oh, okay. Now, the other thing, one of the things I personally don't love is when you're in a bidding when you're in a bidding situation, like, well, I've got 2 other people. Yeah. What can you do for me? That is not a customer for me. And that is a decision that you have to make for yourself. Right. Because you want people who you're going to collaborate with. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
because they're going to treat you like that all along the way.
Exactly.
So this shows what their character is. I mean, we're looking at them. I'm reviewing them, interviewing them way more than they are me, because at the end of the day, I have to spend a year with these people. You know, it's not like I have this client for a month, or a week or so. These are events that take a year to plan or more. And sometimes it's a lot of time with them. Yeah. And of course, most times they're wonderful when you're in the first meetings, and then they become a nightmare. You can't really, I don't know how to fix that one yet. I'm still trying to figure out kind of, be gracious all along the way. And
it comes down to communicate. Yeah, it comes back to communication, right? It comes back to communication and process. That's what I find with service providers. We always want to take them back to the process. You want to take them back to the scope of work, right? So proposal writing and the art of presenting, and this is where boundaries come in, Annette. If we're not strong on our boundaries, like if we, I know at the beginning, when I was doing accounting services, I had moved from hourly to packages, and then I would be like, then they would ask for something extra that wasn't in there. And, I'll just do that. But then that just created scope creep. And every month when I had to do it, I resented it. And it just creates bitterness within yourself.
Yep.
And we don't want to do, we didn't get into business for that.
Right. So many times, listen, I've had clients, go back to the contract, because in our contract, once you do your proposal, well, then we do a contract, and in the contract has all the breakdown of the services we're doing, and sometimes what we're not doing, what the client is going to do. If that's a big thing in the event, they're going to manage all the sponsorships or something. We make sure that that's clear. And a lot of times they like to go back and say, oh, well, you said you were going to do this. Okay, that's what we're doing, and no problem. We address it, and they just have to be, they honestly have to be taught how to work with us a lot of times. So you're teaching them that. But if they come back and say, oh, if it is something that's out of the scope, that we're well aware of what's in the scope of the work because it's in the contract, we would say to them, we would absolutely love to help you do that. Let me go back and take a look and see how many hours that's going to take, and I'll get back to you and see what that's
exactly.
Just kill them with kindness. Don't get upset. Oh my gosh, it's out of our scope, and what do I do? Just address it with, yes, we would absolutely love to help you. Let's take a look and see how many hours that's taken. Because by this time now, most of the time we are not on an hourly rate. Corporate sometimes does that, but we are on a
package.
I do percentages percentages for weddings, but any kind of like nonprofits and things like that. I've done so many of them. I know how much it costs to do it, how many hours we're going to do, and what it is. So, but sometimes it gets out of the scope, and we just say, we would absolutely love to help you with that. Let me get back to you on what the cost's going to be for that. So
yes, that is absolutely,
and they're usually fine with it, but
I was going to say, and you're usually fine with it. That's usually the case. And sometimes, in those instances, maybe it is so outside of the scope of what you do that, or, you need to hire someone to do that. It's something different. And you have to really figure out, is that in alignment with your business and what you want to be offering?
Yeah, exactly.
I think in the event planning, it's a little bit more, you probably have a lot more moving pieces than a lot of other service providers, right? Because you're doing such unique things. Yeah, you're like jugglers, right? Yeah. So that makes a lot more sense.
Systems are everything. You have to have major systems, and it's a lot of handhold. It's a lot of teaching them. Okay, this is we meet on a bi-weekly basis for this whole year, and then so we're telling them these are the things that have to be done. Now, I mean, you're basically you're kind of producing it while you're producing it. It's just kind of thing. So
in any service business, it is about communication. And that's what I find. If you're not
communication,
is if you're not communicating, people believe that you're not doing anything, because the further they are away from a problem, the easier it is for the solution, right? And the easier you could be fired. Like they could be like, oh, they're not doing what I want. Boom. Yeah. No conversation, no anything. Yeah.
Yes. So, okay. So what's one simple way to prepare for a pricing conversation so it feels calm, clear, collaborative, right?
Right. So a couple things, right? You want to go in with a clear proposal, right? You want spend some time systematizing that for yourself, having it be a template, making sure that you're familiar with, a set of payment terms, right? A lot of people don't do that, right? You don't have to customize payment terms for every project. I think if you're doing, certain size projects, you can have a template. So say you're doing a $10,000 project, you can have a template like this is, that you use for that price range, right, of projects. I mean, if you've got $1 million fee, we can be maybe flexible or whatever. But
yeah,
so go in with a really clear proposal. If you get that crack in your voice, if you get nervous, right, talking about your fee, I want you to practice what the event, like what's the outcome of the event, because that's what they're buying, right? They're buying the result. They're buying the transformation. They're buying the outcome. They're buying the feeling. People do not want to buy your hours. They want to buy the end result. Right. Focus on that end result. Practice that. Talk about it.
Solving their problem.
Solving their problem.
Always asking them like, so what, if you've done this before, what didn't work? What those sorts of things, so that you can address those, especially that's in the initial call. So when you go to present the proposal, you're addressing what their concerns were previously.
Exactly.
Then they know that you heard them and they feel comfortable, and you're gonna fix those problems. Right?
So it sounds to me like in event planning that you're having like a diagnostic, conversation beforehand. Like it might be a brand new event, or it might be an event they've done before, but there's a different set of issues, right, that they're coming with. So that is huge. Like I didn't realize that you'd be doing it to that extent on the event planning. But,
yes.
Yeah. But you take that information in, incorporate it into your proposal, practice it. And then the other thing you want to practice is, here's the investment, state it, and then be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet. And then have your open-ended questions, because you want to be quiet. You don't want to fill the space. If you find yourself wanting to start talking and saying, well, filling the space. One of the things I do is like, I'll pinch my fingers together, or bite the inside of your lip.
Yeah.
You can do things like that. But then what you want to do is say something like open-ended, like, so how does that feel? Or what are you thinking? What are your thoughts here?
I do this. I did do that exactly. And I stopped.
Yeah.
And let them
and then
talk.
you stop, and then you let them talk, and you get information, because now you're in an information exchange. Right. Because here's the thing, you're at the table. They want to work with you. You've gotten that far. They want to work with you. So now it's just a matter of relaxing in. And at this point, you should have decided if you want to work with them, right?
Yeah,
because if you don't, then you price it that you don't want to work with them. Yeah. You price it in a way that you really don't want to work with them. But and I think that's it. I think it's looking at this as data, looking at this as information, and it is really practice until you can roll off the way you do in presenting a presentation, a proposal.
Yeah. Yes. Great advice there. So for anyone who's chronically undercharges or discounts, which, we say discount and it really isn't a discount, but we try to say it's a discount. We do give some things, but it's, but where can they begin to rebuild their pricing power? Right. So we don't want to show too many discounts, but there are things that I will give, like I'll do a site visit if it's local. Like if I'm traveling, I will throw in a site visit, and sometimes I'll throw in a second site visit or something. Okay. It just depends on, like what's happening and what and how many years they've been in business and what is the goal. Like it really depends on a lot of different things. But
right. And you're bringing to that decision business experience. And I do similar things now when I'm working with certain businesses and certain unique projects. But pricing power, I think one of the things for price, especially if you're newer, right? You don't want to be rigid, but you also need to know what your boundaries are, right? So let's just say you're a new planner and you're getting, jobs in a certain price range, right? So if you know that you're getting jobs in a certain price range, I always add something that is a light lift versus something that's going to cost you, right? So you always want to add something versus discounting if you can. Okay. Although I do know people love a discount, and there are certain industries where that is a norm, right? Like people feel like they're
We
getting
do discount for nonprofits. So our rate is a little bit lower for a nonprofit because
so it's a nonprofit rate. It's really not a discount. It's a nonprofit rate. So I would talk about it that way.
What we say. Yeah.
Yeah. I would talk about it that way. But I think
pricing, like a new client discount or something, or a new client, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you could, definitely do it. You're definitely trying to make someone feel special, right?
Right.
But is there a way, something you can add, right? Like the site visit is a good thing. I'm sorry, I'm not as familiar with the things that you'd be doing in.
So one of the things that we do add is as a gift to them, is what we sort of say, is we market the event. So if it's an event that I can market, right, that they're selling tickets and they need to get people there, a lot of the nonprofits or corporate or things like that. We will market the event. I have a pretty good social media following, and we market all the way up into the event. Many times we've sold tickets, filled seats, got sponsorships through our marketing. So it's no cost to them. I'm already marketing. It markets me and my business, and it's also talking about their event. So that's a really kind of we're already doing that. And it's I have to pay my marketing team to help me, but I'm already doing it anyway.
You're already doing it anyway. Right. And it's a low lift, and it's a win-win, right? So that's the mentality around this. So pricing power is really about having that structure, right? Having your process, how you get to your pricing, and then it's try not to discount.
That's the biggest thing.
Try not to discount, especially. Okay, so here's the thing: you can discount around like a hard product, right? Because you're probably marking it up anyway, or you could say you're marking it up and then you're giving a discount and then you're just passing through the cost. But do not discount around your rate, okay? Because you're not in business to pay people to promote their event. You're not in business for that. You're in business to make money. You're in business to do the thing that you love. So those are some of the things.
Yeah, I would never, and don't do this, is offer your services in exchange for, they're going to mention you on social media. Don't do that. You need to get paid, and you need to get paid what you're worth. And the biggest thing is, if you feel like your client has a really, if you're feeling guilty because you're quoting some price and you think the client isn't going to be able to pay that because their budget's really tight.
Well, that's your money story playing out.
Exactly. And maybe that's not the right client. Right.
Right. Yes.
So open the door for something bigger.
Right. And one of the things that we do, when I work, a lot of the clients I work with, they are making decisions for their client based on their own money story. So you never make a decision on how someone will spend money. I was just having this conversation this morning. It was really funny. It's like people will find the money to pay for what they want. They will, no matter what it is. And, again, I was having this conversation just this morning, and we were just being arbitrary. We were talking about a cup of coffee, right? And how you get a cup of coffee and it's like $5 now or whatever it is, but people who love coffee, that is that they're going to spend that money. They're going to go get their coffee every single day but now someone who doesn't love coffee that much, and be like, well, I'm not paying for that. Yeah. It's a personal decision. Right. Do not project. Try not to project your money story onto anyone else.
Yep.
And you may not even realize it's your money story. That's the other thing. So you got to start to create some awareness around that.
Yes, for sure. So I could talk forever with you on this, but I've got a couple extra questions here. But one really big one is, and this is I'm dying to hear what you have to say. So how do you raise your prices with a client that you've worked with for so many years without it being awkward? So you've had a client for 5 years, you charged them the same amount, and you're like, geez, it's 5 years. That's the economy changes. The prices, everything's expensive. So and listen, hotels, everyone else is raising their prices. Labor's insane. Food is insane. So
everything is insane. Right.
So how do you do that without?
Right. So I would think in the event planning business, because of all those factors, you're dealing with a lot of hard costs, right? From
Yes.
venues and things like that, that you're going to be like, listen, and maybe you preface that like you're coming back in and say, look, when we did this event a couple years ago, the economy was here. The economy has since, everything has increased. So I just want to let you know, you might have a little sticker shock that things are going to be higher.
Yeah.
The other, in the accounting services business, right? Like I have an accounting team, and one of the things that I do is, and I'm giving a little secret away here, but they're event planners. But basically, there's a time component to what we do, and I build in a little cushion, right? So that allows me not to have to knee-jerk raise rates right away. But when I do, so the other thing you want to do too is you want to have it be a standard practice, right? You don't want to have it be, a lot of service providers do not raise their rates. They keep their labor rates separate. Right. I would say to you that it really, again, it comes down to communication. It comes down to prefacing it at the beginning, like, hey, the economy is a little bit different. Everything has gone up from labor to venues.
Yeah.
So I just want you to know. So there may be some sticker shock if we're doing your event at the same level that we've done it in the past. And you can even, and you could say that at the beginning, or you can say at the beginning of the proposal presentation. I think most people understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And
if their event has grown, so you started with them and it was 100 people, and then
right.
200 and 300, and now it's 500. And there's a lot, even though
there's a lot of different
planning is all the same on site, there's a lot of work, and you need more staff on site. So you have to make sure that you have enough staff.
Right.
We usually hire one person for every 50 people. Now,
wow.
And it could be that some people, the team they have volunteers or staff that can help, but you always have to check that. Like you have to make sure that you are going to have enough help on site. You've got all the registration, you've got all the setup. There's a lot, and then breakdown. At the end of the night, everybody just wants to leave and stick us with I'm not going to do that. Like I
don't blame you.
I worked really hard since 6 a.m. I need someone to help me.
Your event again. Yeah,
exactly. So you have to just make sure that you are covering all your bases there.
Right.
So,
and then the other thing too is and you can also preface it this way, like, hey, to do an event of that scale now versus a couple of years ago, you can expect 20% increase. If you want to do something more intimate, that'll probably be more in line with the old budget. So it's about you. So again, it goes back to you educating your customer.
Right.
And again, I think and forgive me for saying this, I think it's a little easier in your industry. I think a lot of other service providers have a little harder, trying to raise those rates. Especially when
it is easier. And people are, you just have to educate the client and listen, things have gone up. So that's the way it is.
Yeah, things have gone up. Yeah, you're like, you go to a restaurant, and when eggs went up, they did not sit there and go, "Oh, we're so sorry, we're raising the rate on your omelet." No, they just did it.
Yes, I did. I was shocked. I know.
Right. Oh, $50 omelet.
I know, it's insane. All right, so I do this little lightning round. Just a few questions, if you don't mind. I'd love to ask you. So, who is someone who is inspiring you at the moment, and why?
Ooh, who is someone who's inspiring me at the moment, and why? Oh, wow. A couple people, but I'm going to go with, I listened to this, a podcast, and her name is Jennifer Goldbrand, and she is a somatic, so she does a lot of work with people and helping them in their body and regulate their nervous system, and, holds a mirror. So she's inspiring me right now because my work, believe it, in financial clarity, I'm going deeper into that. So I just was working with her, and I came out of a container working with her, so I could deepen my own skill. So yeah.
So what is the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh, best advice I've ever received. Okay, the best advice I ever received is, well, to me, it was the best advice. It's like, you can make a lot of money, a small amount of money over a long period of time, or you could choose to make a lot of money in a short period of time. That was my mind shifted in that moment. And that's when my own personal money journey became clearer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I am slower this year. I'm finding that this year is a little slower for me, but I'm actually really excited about that. One, I'm working on my coaching program and really want to teach, wedding event planners, but it just means like other things are happening and it's opening the door and I'm actually increasing my prices. So at the same time, while it feels a little slower, and I'm actually happy because we've been so busy for so many years, I just want to slow down a little bit. But, and it's so hard to do because they come in and then you say yes. And all of a sudden you have 15 events again. And I'm like, I didn't want to do that. But raise your prices. So if you're in high demand, you raise your prices.
That's right.
So what is the most that you're looking forward to this year?
The most thing. I'm very proud of this. My book is coming out in March of 2026. It's called The Money Conversation. And this book has been in my head for 15 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. That's a big thing.
It's a big thing. It's super exciting. It's a big accomplishment, and I love writing. So yeah, looking forward to that. And actually, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's funny. You like writing because you're a money.
I know. Yeah, I am not your typical. It's so funny. I've always been said, "Oh, you're not a typical accountant," and I'm not. I'm not a typical accountant at all. But
that's great.
I'm more about energetics and structure and strategy and stuff.
Yeah, that's great. That's really wonderful. Okay, and my last question is: what is one piece of advice you would give wedding and event planners who are just starting out?
Yeah. Okay. So one piece of advice is, first of all, listen to you, because you really, Annette knows her stuff. Let me tell you something. Like you could have written my book.
That's great. That's very it's years of, in the trenches. So
yeah, I would say to you, one piece of advice starting out is have a mentor like you, find someone who is experienced like you, and trust your gut. And then the third thing is know your numbers. Numbers are not scary. I know we've been taught that, but they are not scary. And they're data. Numbers are data.
Yes.
They tell you.
Such great advice. That is such great advice. Know your numbers. I knew when I was starting, I was afraid.
Yes.
I was afraid to look at that negative $57 an hour because, I kind of knew it was a disaster.
That's it. So that you just said something super important there. You knew it in your body. You knew something wasn't right. Once you look at it, you're aware of it, but then you can do something about it. And you're creative. We, as entrepreneurs, we are creative. If you have that bug to start a business, even if it's a side hustle, we're creative. We're solution finders. We will figure it out. Everything is figure outable.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And it's true. You should get some help in what you're trying to do. I've had coaches all along the way. Yes. And if I'm not the one, somebody else out there can help you. It's so important. I can't tell you that enough, is to get somebody to mentor you and coach you along the way. I've had, 6 or 7 of them along the way. I have one now, and it's amazing. And she's kicking my butt, and I'm mad at her all the time, but that's why I hired her, right?
That's why you hire them. Yeah.
I'm just dying, but yes.
Same thing for me. Like I said, I just finished working with Jen, and I'll probably be looking for, my next mentor.
Yes. So I'm, I have the event business, which is great and successful, and it's great, but I always need to, as you start to level up, there's always those different levels of things that you have to deal with. Yes. And, but my coaching program is a whole nother animal in itself. And that I need someone to help me how to figure out how to scale my coaching program, because it's different. It's different. I can sell an event for, with my fee of $50,000 like that, but I can't seem to sell a 387 coaching program. What the heck? And it's just a great program. It's a great program. I teach so many great things, but that's the thing. You got to figure out what that sweet spot is and how that goes. And so it's kind of a challenge, and it's great to kind of break that, what is going on, and how do I do it?
I hear you, because in my business too, we are starting to go into the education side as well.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard, But at the same time, you're like, I know I've got a lot of great information. And it's just finding the formula. It's just finding the formula that resonates.
And I know people want it because they're out there. They're, they're definitely reaching out and trying to, start a business and do what they need to do. But again, it's money. They all have the money conversation.
Yeah.
Like they want to start a business, but to spend a few $1,000s, or even $500 to get a coaching program, they have a money thing on it. So they're going to need to get the book. They have to get your book, Money Conversation, right? Is that what it's called?
It's the Money Conversation. Pre-sales will be available February 2026. You can come to my website. We're going to be on Amazon and, different
What is your website, Linda?
So my website is SUMSOLUTIONS, www.SUMSOLUTIONS.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, great. And then how do they find you on social media?
So social media, we're on everything. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube.
Under your name, your company, both?
Both. Yes, both. So on YouTube, it's Linda Hunt. But you have to add my company name because there's an actress, Linda Hunt, and she comes up.
Yes, there is.
She comes up. But yeah, listen, if you want to start that business, if you're listening to this and you're just invest. It's an investment in yourself. And when you become an entrepreneur, you meet yourself.
Yeah. And every time I have invested in myself, it's turned out to be great. And as you said, way in the beginning of this conversation was trust your gut. And every situation that I have thought, okay, this is the coach. I feel it, right? It feels right. And I may have gotten maybe not that exact thing that I thought I was getting from that coach, but I got something even bigger and better and other stuff, right? So you get things, you just have to be wise about how you're spending your money. I still, even though I make good money, I still am very cautious about how I spend. And I think that goes back to just years of,
Sure.
It's important. You don't want to be, crazy with your money. So, but sometimes I do. And then there's times where I spend a crazy amount of money and I don't think about it. So I think like you said, it depends on what's valuable to me, right?
Exactly. And money's meant to circulate.
Right.
We're not meant to hoard it. We're meant to enjoy it, right? We're meant to enjoy money, save, spend, necessities. Yeah.
And you will make money every time I've spent it. And they say this all the time. I'm sure you've heard it a million times, is when you spend money, you make money. And this is true.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That is true.
I am so happy to talk to you. It's been I love this conversation always. You and I were both excited when we started because I love talking about pricing and all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right, you guys, thank you so much. If you want to get into my Facebook group, it's Event Planner Society. Join us over there. Would love to have you, and we'll see you again soon.